everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast. Glad you're joining with us today. And as always, YBMcast is powered by Game 7 Baseball. Game7baseball.com. Register your team today. Tournaments are up. You got tournaments Tennessee, Kentucky, you got Illinois, you got Missouri, all over the place. Great stuff happening. Make sure you get on there, Game7baseball.com. And today, we're talking 14U baseball. We have a special guest with us today, Mike Rogers from the St. Louis Naturals. Mike?
Appreciate it.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah.
And as always, my compadre for the youth report here, Mitch Thomas from the Hitting Zone. Mitch, how's it going, man?
It's good. It's good to be back in studio.
Yeah.
I missed the last one. I was a little under the weather and wanted to do the right thing, so I stayed home. And sorry for all the
We
fans
appreciate that, bro.
Well, sorry you couldn't see my beautiful face on the last episode, but I was there.
And I'm showing off today. I love this. I'm a history kind of guy, and I'm wearing my Milan shirt, Milan 54 Legends. This is the real Hickory Huskers from the movie Hoosiers. If you haven't seen the movie Hoosiers, go watch it. It's nothing like the real story. They made it up, but this is the team that they based it off of, and which was really cool. And we got to go to the museum and watch. We watched the fourth quarter of that game. They scored, the final score was 32-30. Of course, you got 1954, no shot clock. When they started the fourth quarter, I think the score was 28-28. And yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was tied at 28, and the final was 32-30.
Four corners delay.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So I thought it was cool, but that's why I'm propping the shirt today. It was a lot of fun going to the museum.
I'm going to stick to baseball.
All right. Well, we're going to talk baseball today. 14U, Mike. We've heard a lot of good things about your team, bro.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, one of the parents kind of off our team kind of mentioned, hey, you might want to check out this podcast. There's some people talking about our team, and luckily it was good things. So yeah, so I was, really thankful you guys offered, to come in and talk about our team. And yeah, it's a team that we've had together a long time. We're not big into switching up and adding and separating, players. And we've had a core group since about 9 years old that have developed, and, we didn't have really good success early, maybe one or two tournaments. And then this past year we had a monster year. I mean, the boys kind of figured out how to win, and that's huge. I mean, and it comes down. I mean, you can attest to it. It's just the little things. I mean, and playing some of these higher level teams, you just can't give extra outs and things like that. So they just shored up a few things defensively, and pitchers start throwing strikes, and it just makes a huge difference. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's what we're experiencing with Nicodime's team with us, is that they've been together for a long time as a group, and they're starting to hit their stride, and they're starting to compete now at a higher level. They've been a AA team, won some tournaments, but this year they're challenging their group a little bit. But it's guys knowing where they're supposed to be without you having to coach that anymore.
Yep.
Exactly. and having those frustrations of recycling teams and trying to recycle your culture. These kids understand it, and so they walk into your season, and it's got to be easy now to coach that group.
It is, and it's just that team aspect. They become friends. You travel, get outside, get into some tournaments outside St. Louis, and that bonding really makes a huge difference. And, I mean, we have 12 on our roster. We don't carry 18, 20. There's some other teams that have huge rosters. They have different kids come in on Saturdays, different kids come in on Sundays. We definitely are not like that. We're just, trying to put a good, product on the field, play the game the right way, be respectful, and just get these boys in the best spot so they can go into their high school careers and be successful into high school. So that's kind of what we're looking for.
Do you think long term, and I'm just kind of adding to this, you talked about the teams that bring in, 18, 20 guys that might bring a kid in on Saturday, might bring a kid on Sunday, or travel, wherever they're coming from, whatever state, wherever they find them, Instagram, whatever. Do you find that the long-term success that you might have for these boys as they get into high school and college, because you have to compete as a group, do you feel like that is a better situation for those kids? I think I'm asking the question correctly. A better situation for those kids to prepare for high school and then maybe college?
Right. Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, I think staying as a team and a unit is huge, and it gives you that understanding of what a team is. So when you get into high school, you have 4 years with those, those players. So they're not going to be flipping rosters over. You're going to have to be able to develop and, build those relationships. But on the other side, I mean, if you're good enough and you're at that high level we have a couple kids on our team that if we're off on a weekend and they want to go and play in a perfect game tournament, maybe in Atlanta or in a different state, I'll look into that organization and make sure they're legit. And we've had one that played in a few, didn't have a problem with it. Great, they had a great experience. So getting that exposure, so that's the other thing, those exposures of some of the perfect game things, is it really worth going out and spending the money to go to those exposure camps? Maybe not for everybody, but, there might be one or two, in the area that it'd be good for, and just get that exposure type of thing. So,
That makes sense.
I think it's a great question because I think in that thought process, what you're looking at is what you said right there. Not every player is at that level.
Right.
When you're talking about perfect game at some of these high level, I've seen them. These should be kids that are looking maybe even as being draftable.
Right.
And that's just honesty. And as we sit here, we know this, not every player is draftable. Not every player is Division I, not every player is Division II.
Right.
So it's finding that space and finding that place for yourself if you want to play to the next level, level. And I think the biggest part of that and the foundation of those things is the team.
Right. No, I agree.
Because you are, regardless of those extra opportunities, you're still trying to develop that young man to play high school baseball. Right.
That's just what I believe in. And I know some organizations, especially at this level, when you're hitting 14, some of them, this is going to be our academy type team,
right,
where we're going to bring in, so there's some new teams that have developed at our age group. And there's been a lot of moving parts of players and things like that. And I'm not one, and our coaching staff is not one to go out and recruit players. If somebody would come to us, we would definitely talk to their families and see if it would be a good fit to come into our team. Yeah.
What, you're not out there handing out cards?
No.
I'm sorry, I said that out loud.
And the other thing is I don't go watch other teams play. I will watch our team, my son who's on the team. I have two other boys. I don't have time to go out and watch other games and things like that.
Yeah, sniping players is an interesting thing, and I've been a part of that on both baseball and the softball side because I run the tribe organization, have baseball and softball, and I've been coaching softball a lot longer than baseball recently because I had a daughter who played. So it's brutal. It's such a competitive thing, and it's like everybody talks about the next best thing, and it's like, to me, it's about the coaching staff and the folks around you. There is some kids that need to leave a program. Our program is mid-level, mid-tier, AA. It's a B-level team on the softball side of things, and that's okay. We have great coaches teaching these kids, but once they get to a certain level, they need to go. They need to go play at the highest level that they can. It took me a long time to even understand that because I used to get my feelings hurt. Yeah. Because you put a lot of time in your athletes, right? And so when a kid would leave, I would get frustrated because that's a kid you want to build around to become a level, and then they disappear and it's like, here we are back to square one.
Right.
And I'm realizing that we have to take care of the youth side first. If you want to build, you have to take care of the youth, and you want to keep that team together as long as we can. And that's what's happening with Jason Nicodime's team is he's doing that. And Coach Jamal's team at 13U, he's had these kids for now a couple of years and they are getting better.
Right.
It's just taking time. But the parents believe in the coach. And that's a great point. That's a big deal.
Sure.
And it's exciting to see that happen because, again, at 15, 16, when it matters the most, you hope to see that change.
Right.
And that's what we're striving to be in our program is to do what some of these other groups are doing, keeping these teams from the youth on up. So I'm pretty excited about being 14U now as a coach as well. We're a AA team, but we're going to hopefully see some of you guys and challenge ourselves just a little bit because I do have a good pitching staff.
Yeah.
We're not.
And we talk about that. We talk about depth. And just folks, look, this is great conversation here. So please leave us a comment. Hit that like button. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about that subject matter because I think This is important. These are the things that we like as far as topics because other people have different opinions of these things. And, you know, as the conversation goes, we'd love to hear. So comment below, put your comment in there. We want to hear what you have to say. And this comes back to, as you're challenging kids, I think culture and whatnot and trusting a coach, that's got to be huge, right?
Yes.
I mean,
definitely.
if your parents aren't seeing the growth from their kid, that's when it starts becoming something that goes, well, maybe we're in the wrong spot. Yeah.
Right. And then other thing is being honest and upfront a lot of time is the key. I mean, and ultimately everyone wants their son to be playing every inning of every game, shortstop, center field. But realistically, and I tell my guys, I said, you know what, just because you play a certain position on my team right now does not mean that's going to be your position when you move into high school. Because if you want to play, and I tell every one of them, if say you're my starting shortstop and you get into high school, well, what if there's an All-American there that is a draftable player that's playing shortstop? And they say, hey, we need an outfielder. Raise your hand and say you play outfield. Even if you've never played outfield before, you want to get an at-bat to show that you can swing it a little bit, and then they'll find you a place. Because ultimately, in baseball, there's probably somebody that might be a little better than you at one position, but go play something else. Just because you're playing a certain thing now on my team, it might not be the same at your high school. I mean, we have in our team, and we talked before this, we have some really big kids on our teams. I mean, we have 3, 4, 5 kids like 6 feet or bigger, and they're big and they can swing it. But ultimately, if you move into high school, I mean, you're going to play on some teams that are not going to be as big as our 14U team that we have now, and just, you know, get in the game somehow and make an effort. So it's all about, I tell my guys, I don't get upset about much at all. It's like I love having fun, playing the game the right way. Stepping between the lines. If you're walking, I get frustrated with that. I want them to running anywhere they go, and I want them to play catch the right way before a game and warm up. That is such it's a pet peeve of mine. Get on the foul line, play catch the right way. Don't goof off out there. And and you can tell, and that transitions into the game. If they're goofing off and, you know, warming up, a lot of times the way they start that game is the way they warmed up.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to get
5.
that. Yeah, exactly.
Down 5
yeah.
in the bottom of the first. You're down 5.
I always thought it was interesting, and this is something I instilled early when we talked about 9, 10, 11-year-olds. As you said, the warm-up. I always could tell the difference in really good teams because they didn't play throw and chase. They played throw and catch.
Right.
You know, you say, hey, go play catch. And there's no catching going on. There's the ball being thrown and the kids are chasing the baseball. And there's a level of that thought process that has to say, hey, at some point, the basics of the game have to be part of what we're doing. How you step into a throw, can you catch the baseball? And I think that becomes a thought process in just those things. And that level starting at 9.
Oh, makes a huge difference. And then as you get older, I mean, you can attest, if you play in some of these tournaments, a lot of the coaches that will come in when you get into high school, you know, college coaches, if they're going to come look at you, they will get there early. You won't even know they're there, and they're going to watch you interact with your team. They're going to watch you warm up and play catch. And if it's not appropriate for their team, they'll leave.
Yes.
So that makes a huge difference. I mean,
Yeah, and people don't understand that. I coached 8 seasons at WashU on the softball side, and when we go out and recruit, we did the same thing. Because at the college level, you don't have coaches standing there in your circles, how you warm up. The expectation is you do this on your own, right? Accountability. Right. And so when that kid goes out there and they're farting around, it doesn't match your culture. Right. It doesn't match the fun. If they're out there, music's going and they're having a little bit of fun, but they're staying focused, that's fine. But when they're having a little bit of fun and they're all over the place and they've made 3 throws in 30 minutes, it's a big deal. We close that book and we turn the page and we go home or find a new athlete. And I love the fact that I always thought that I was alone thinking about how important it is to be able to play catch at 60 feet, 90 feet, 120 feet. And a little love to a buddy of mine. He's a Bandits coach, or Midland, whatever they are now, Bandits, I guess.
Midland Bandits, yep.
He has a 10U team and an 8U team, and Steve Mayer. So he's a kid that went to McClure, same age. We played men's baseball together, and we would play long toss at a game of 21.
Oh, right.
Trying to hit each other in the chest. It mattered to play catch.
Sure.
And I absolutely enjoyed being able to throw a ball 180 feet and hit him right in the face.
Yeah.
Right.
But he did the same to me. And so, competition breeds so much. And I can't stand that we can't play catch 45 feet.
Right. And it's a true.
Frustrating, yeah. It is.
And I love that goes back to, what you talked about with the team, developing culture, and do programs, are the clubs, when they're bringing these kids in, when they're bringing coaches in and people like yourself, are we working towards that culture, right?
Right. No, and for us, that's the biggest thing, the team aspect. We have a group of kids. We want to make sure everyone's going to get along and things like that. So any kids we picked up 2 kids last year, and it was from other players on our team, that knew some of these boys that said, you know what, they're probably looking for another team. So then kind of the interaction, then that started. Mm-hmm. And then they're good kids. We bring them into a practice or something like that, see how they mingle with our boys. And I want to make sure position-wise, too, when we're bringing in somebody new, I'm not going to be overstacked in one position, because that's going to breed some type of, maybe some contention and things like that. So
competition is all right.
Competition is good, though.
It is good, but when you're talking about a dollar bill, you have it immediately starts with the family. I'm paying X amount of dollars. I want my son to get some reps, and then you talked about being honest with your kids earlier. When I ask questions of my athletes and I get the shoulder shrugs, when I'm trying, because what I've learned in baseball, there's really ever any wrong answer,
right?
Because there's so many different options that you could be a competitive athlete. Mm-hmm. So there's no real wrong answer. I don't believe in baseball. And some of these kids, I don't know why. I don't know why I do. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know why I didn't put you in a roster. I don't know why you're not in the lineup. Right. And they look at me and they're like, they get frustrated. And I'm like, well, give me an answer. Don't just take the easy way out. Dig deep. Find out why you're not doing something.
Start thinking.
Yeah, and then because the IQ, I feel like our level of play is the IQ part of it is not there. That's probably why your team's successful, is they have a high IQ together as a group. Your best players coaching up your worst players, and we have a lot of introverted kids these days, and
definitely,
and personalities aren't the same like they were when I played, and or even when my daughter played. She's only 25, probably even when Justin played. It's just different.
Yeah,
and I feel like IQ is huge, and so.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, leaders, we talk about that on ours. We have a lot of kids that everyone gets along. We need 1 or 2 to step up and be a leader, be a voice.
Right.
And it's a voice in a positive way to get everybody going before the game, during the game. It's amazing. I'm not one that we need a bunch of cheering going on in the dugout, but how that evolves, and you get a hit, you get a double score run, everyone gets excited. Dugout's alive. You're not talking about the other team, you're talking about your success, and it just breeds and it just grows, and it's like going downhill, and everything goes well. Typically, when our dugout is alive and somebody's leading that, it's a huge difference. Yeah,
there's nothing to complain about either. Right. No bad calls. Exactly. None of that BS. It just fires on all cylinders.
Yeah. I'll finish up with it, and we're going to talk teams.
Sure.
We're not going to talk, but we like to hear about the teams that you've competed against, what teams that you look for, and what we're looking at. Yeah. So we'll get that. But I want to come back to the one point, because we've looked at this recently, and I think this is so real. When we talked about with Coach Perkins, the kid, you raise your hand, I can play there. Even if you hadn't played, go figure it out.
Right.
Get a swing, do something, because we did a recent player spotlight with Titus Sissel from Francis Howell. Outstanding ball player, honorable mention, all state as a freshman in the outfield. He's a shortstop.
Right. See, there it is.
But you have Jake McCutcheon in front of him. He's a senior this year. He's going to Missouri State. I think he was all-state, second team all-state. Exactly. So that's exactly the point, right?
Yep.
you're not going to play in front of Jake.
Right.
He's a senior. He's earned that. He's a really good baseball player.
And he's 4
Yes.
years older. I mean, it's 3 years older. It's just they're bigger, stronger.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, completely.
And that's okay. I think we lessen that, and we're trying to get these kids to come out of that and go, hey, yeah, I'll go play. Don't be afraid of failing.
Right.
Because if you're not afraid of failing, more times than not, you will succeed because you'll let your athleticism perform. You'll let yourself just go play baseball.
Right.
It's a game. Go play ball.
If you have a chance, go on YouTube and Google Kobe Bryant's "There's No Such Thing as Failure."
Right.
And it's such a great little 2-3 minute video. If you get a chance to go about that and bring it up high school, because I'm experiencing the GACs, you know, and I've coached freshman ball. I can't tell you how many kids I had at shortstop first day of practice.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a shortstop. I'm like, holy cow, I got a bunch of athletic kids. That's the first thought, right? I'm like, all right, so who's going to play center field? Nobody wants to play center field first day of practice. I'm like, okay, when I make these decisions, don't get upset with me. We're doing what's best, what I think is best for our team.
Right.
And I had kids do that. You know, I had kids come in and say, I'm a pitcher. I pitched for, you know, the Gators. I pitched for this team. I pitched for that team. And I'm going, you're not pitching on this team. And they're like, I did.
Right.
This is what I did. I was like, no, we have 6 guys that are in front of you, and you're a heck of a third baseman, you know, or you're a great second baseman. And then guys don't get a single inning on the mound, and they're frustrated in the beginning, and then by the end, they're like, maybe I'm not a pitcher.
Maybe I had a good time at second base.
It's like, maybe I am
Get on the field.
Yeah.
Let's get on the field.
And just rake, like he said,
Yeah.
and you will find a place to go. And that's what's interesting is when I was in high school, I played as a freshman. I didn't catch. I was a catcher. I did not catch. I hit mostly if I did get a chance to play. But I had nowhere else to go. They had a good first baseman, good third baseman, good catcher, but I could hit. So I would get some DH reps. And then my sophomore year, I got to catch because we had a senior catcher. Mm-hmm. Well, by the time I got a senior, we had a younger kid that was a little bit more athletic than me, and I was a little banged up. I was an all-conference first baseman and ended up, you know, being an all-state first baseman.
Right.
I went to college and caught, you know, so it's just the thing about it, though, is I knew how to play any position on the field. I knew where to throw the ball. I knew if I was on my back foot in the outfield, I needed to hit my cutoff and the do or dies. I knew how to play. And that's what I think might scare some of these kids.
Right.
I agree.
They don't know how to play the outfield, so they're not willing to go.
Right.
I want to get to this now because we'll finish up here. Teams that you know, let's start on. We always like to start on the other side of the state because we don't know that much about it. I don't know if you do. We'll see.
All right.
You know, so when you're coming up, who are the teams you're afraid of?
Well, I don't know if they're. Yeah, I don't want to say we're afraid of. Probably.
I understand. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. Yeah, no. But I will say just. You know, here, I mean, I can just speak for, you know, the teams that we've played last year and things, and probably going forward, you know, the Titans have always been a team with Tom Bender coaches that team. That's a team that we've
Isn't that the St. Louis Titans?
The Titans. Okay. And we've played them for years, and we've always kind of met up in the, you know, finals a lot of times, and they got us a ton, and this year we got them a couple, and they still got us a few, but so they're really a good team. And they're independent, which is, right. I mean, it's amazing that they've kept the talent they have, and they're a big team too. They swing it and throw it really hard. So they're well coached. That's one. And then, you know, the recruits are very good this year. Dave, he came in, does a great job. And then now the Force, who have moved over to the U.S. Nationals. His team's going to be loaded.
Jack Zimmer.
Jack. Yep. So they'll be a good team as well. And you know, there's a Tigers team black that's good as well that we've played quite a bit.
That's Rollo, right?
That's a year younger.
That's a year younger. That's 13.
13.
Right,
Yeah,
13.
yeah. So they're 13.
Okay,
Yeah. So they're good. I mean, but I'm just curious, kind of how, or if at 14, if we're going to play a lot of these teams, because I know some of those teams, they're going to be traveling a ton. I would assume Jack's going to be traveling a lot with that organization, and for us to play them, I think it's just going to be maybe luck, you know, if we're both in a local tournament or something, that we play them. Because, I mean, our team, you know, specifically, we're in there too. I mean, we can swing it and throw it pretty well, and we do a good job. I mean, we did so well this year, we're like, hey, we have to look outside. So we played even in Kansas City, there was a Rangers organization, a team that we played in Kansas City that was really good. So I know on that side they have a lot of good teams as well, and they form different teams. And I can't remember the name of the organization, but at 14, that's like their first year.
Building champions.
I think, yeah, exactly. So that organization is good, and they don't really travel a ton. They keep it in-house, but they're good. That Rangers team was really good that we played as well. So we're going to we'll go out of town a little bit more this year and play a little more high-level tournaments, and it could be a rude awakening for our boys and see kind of how they roll. But you know what? They deserve it. They deserve the opportunity to play some of these higher-level teams and see how they do, because this past year they did. I was very, very excited how they developed from year to year, and we won our handful of tournaments last year for sure.
Do you guys plan on traveling south? Or are you gonna
we'll go down to Mississippi. We're gonna do Mississippi. We'll do a PBR in Indy, and that's gonna be a really big one. And then we're looking to do maybe another one. It's not finalized, so if it doesn't happen for my team, if they listen.
Don't take this for gospel, parents.
So, but we're thinking about maybe going to Omaha and doing a tournament while College World Series is going on, because that's just a baseball haven there. I hear that's unbelievable. I've never been. It's a great experience, I've heard. So we're talking about that, and then we'll do the local ones and as well. But it's it's a competitive landscape in that 14U division. There's some really good teams.
And that's, here's another great point. Put your top 5. Comment below. Please put it in there. I'd love to hear, because we keep hearing, say the St. Louis Titans have come up
several times.
You're not.
They're
not the only one.
They're
and
loaded.
honestly, I haven't seen them play.
I think even Morgan talked about it last time we were on, talked about the Titans a little bit as being an independent club, because he's an independent guy.
Right.
Yeah. The Missouri Sticks.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now they're 13U though.
Right, I think
but they've talked about.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought he talked about the Titans
I thought so too, didn't he?
that week, but I'm not sure if they had a 13U team. Somebody brought up the Titans before, but was it?
I think it might have been Dave.
Yeah,
I think it was Dave.
It was Dave.
It was Dave
for sure.
Okay.
And so that's the second time I've heard it. And I'd like to see them play. I mean, I really would. So hopefully we'll get a chance.
Yeah, they're good. And then so this past fall, so they're a group of their players joined up with the Rawlings Tigers boys, and they formed one team. And there was the Gas House. Gas House was the name of their team in the fall. So they were loaded. They were a good fall team, but they have multi-sport athletes. Which we talked a little bit about that. So they formed. They just brought both of those teams together because they had so many kids playing soccer and different things in the summer. And their team was very formidable then for this fall as well.
Did they join the actual Gas House organization group? Or
No. That was just the name of their team. And
I gotcha.
Yeah, the coaches made a cool logo, Gas House. Yeah, so they.
Hopefully the kids understood who the Gas House King is, because that it's. I asked Earl and Dan that same question, and it's like some of the boys don't even know. I was like, hopefully you're giving history lessons on who the Gas House King is.
I think it's interesting too that you bring up. You've kind of stayed in the area, and that's the thing. I think people forget, and I know there's a lot of AA baseball in this area, and there's some really good, very, very good AA teams. That next level, that next step up, I think it's tough, and I think it's interesting to put your kids in that position as they're going into high school.
Right.
I think before that, traveling and stuff like that, if you want to go and travel and do that stuff, that's fine. I have no problem with it. But there's plenty of good baseball to develop your skills, to develop yourself as a team, as an individual within the St. Louis area.
Right. No, I agree. There's great tournament organizations that do it, so you can find tournaments for your skill level. I mean, even the AAA, quote, major teams, you're going to get great competition there as well. And just the big jump, I think, from AA to AAA is, probably the number of arms. I mean, I know we've played. It's just the number of arms.
It really is.
Yeah, and it's just high level arms that you can get into Sunday. So for us, we were very fortunate. If we ever had a Friday night game, we could manipulate our 4 or 5 really good pitchers to throw 20 pitches, 25 pitches on a Friday. Then they can come back.
Right.
So we'd get a Friday game and we throw 4 or 5 pitchers. And if we can get that win, then we're really set, because then Saturday we can go in and doesn't really, whatever happens, happens. But then we have our 4 or 5 core guys still left on Sunday to kind of throw. And that made a huge difference for us in a few tournaments that we were able to work that angle.
Hey, thanks for giving me some tips. This is my first year at 14, so I'm like, thanks for some tips. I don't know how to manipulate mine because I got 4 or 5 good arms.
But you want to keep that under 20 or 25, that limit where they can come back not on Saturday but on Sunday and totally be rested. They can go.
Does the organizations here require you to turn in pitch limits, or the state, or anything like that, like we do in high school?
No, it's not.
That's just a coaching.
It's just kind of coaching, and there's
a smart thing to do.
Yeah, but there's parameters. I mean, we're definitely keeping pitch counts and keeping guys under. I mean, like 25 to 30. You can pitch another. You have a day of rest and then pitch again. And high school has certain criteria, so we do similar to that because we did a tournament at Vianney, and we had to stick with there, and there was all high school rules. So it was pitch count and number of pitches and how many you have, that then you could be shut down for the whole weekend, type of thing.
Yeah.
And as you get older, that starts to come into play. Yeah, 14s and 15s.
It's smart too.
You guys are bringing great comment fodder. This is great comment fodder, right? Comment below. This is good stuff. We want to make sure that, because I think this is interesting conversation. This is the tough things about these levels, because we have talked at length and then into high school. The difference between those championship level teams is depth at pitching.
Right.
It really is. You can say what you want to.
I agree 100%. Pitching is key, but I will say, I mean, we got some kids on our team that can swing it. I mean, they can swing it, and they're. I mean, we
just mash, baby, just mash.
We talked earlier. I mean, I have a couple. They're like grown men up there. I mean, and they swing it like that, and they can hit the ball far. And but it still comes down to, I mean, even if you have the arms, I tell my guys, I'm like, hey, pitch to contact, number one, put it in play, keeps your defense on their toes. Yep. You're walking guys or, and trying to throw it as hard as you can every pitch. You don't know where it's going. It's affecting so many other things.
And here's the tough thing, though, because I saw this firsthand. And to your point, you got the kids that can swing it and this and that. And I think it's so interesting. This was in the state championships this last year. Justin and I were down in Springfield for this. And Kennett, who won the state tournament, I think it was a 4A.
Okay.
I think Kennett was a 4A, Justin? Yeah, I believe they're 4A. Well, they had this kid that's going to Arkansas, and he can swing it and whatnot. Right. Well, they're playing this team, Lafayette, out of St. Joseph, private school, whatnot. The kid on the mound was dealing.
Right.
Shut them down. They were up 3-0. Kid throwing a shutout. Well, he hit his pitch count. Next kid comes in. I'm terrible thing is I can't remember his name. That's what's horrible. Hits a 3-run bomb. They end up winning 11-3. Okay, so there, and then in the championship game at 6A, Liberty gets on top of Fort Zumwalt West.
Right.
Fort Zumwalt West can swing it. They're good hitters, people that can, again, they start getting some momentum. They'd made some mistakes earlier. They're starting to get it, and they're starting to swing back. Carson Milbrand, 94, 3 quick innings, nada.
Right.
And so I think that, to me, is the key. It still is. I understand the kids can swing it and whatnot, but when you have that moment against that top level, that guy that just comes in and you're like, nah, we're done. Right. Yeah. I really do. It's that Mariano Rivera. Did he lose one in that World Series against Arizona? Yep, but that was like one moment out of a myriad of opportunities that said, you might as well just go sit down, bro.
Right. Yeah, especially at our age. I mean, we can hold a guy, and then if there's any trouble, I mean, you're 13, 14 years old, and I bring in a kid that's 6'4" on the mound. It's just like there's an intimidation factor. Even if they say there's not, I mean, there is. Or if there's somebody that's a little bit wild that throws very hard, which we have a few of those that can throw hard. Effectively wild. We have a few of those as well. I mean, it's like,
in the head.
Yeah, you want to really step into this kid? Yeah, so it's,
That is a true statement, man.
It's intimidating as even a coach. If you got some kid out there that's bigger than you walking out on the field, it's like, well, we're done, guys. Like, as a coach, you're obviously not going to say that. You're
Right.
going to hoorah these boys up. I'm like, hey, we got nothing to lose. Just go and swing it and close your eyes and see if you get lucky, kind of thing. And sometimes that happens. But we in the GACs we faced what's his face that threw 98 and went to Oregon State or whatever.
Victor. Victor Quinn.
And he gave up one hit and lost 4-0, 4-1.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting though, because our boys had nothing to lose, so Timberland went out there trying to get after it.
Yeah.
But it's offense. That's one thing that can shut it down is good pitching and even better defense.
Yeah. And it's situational hitting. So you get those good pitchers. Like I tell our guys, we get a guy at second base, second and third with less than with no outs. That guy has to score.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking base hit. We get a guy at third with one out. That he needs to score because typically they're going to play back. Just put the ball in play, hit it on the ground. We'll get a run, or it's just situations. So anything up, try to hit it 500 feet and hit a fly ball deep. We're going to get that run in. And so, then we still have 1 out, 2 out, and we can maybe get something going. But it's like you just don't want to get a goose egg when you have an opportunity to score a guy at second or third that you can move the ball the other way and just bring that run in and move the other runner. That makes a huge difference at this age. Yeah.
I think that's huge, period, because you watch Major League Baseball and the shifts, and you're like, really? You're a professional hitter, and there is the hole the size of the Grand Canyon on that side of the field, and you won't even try.
Yeah.
You won't give it. And that, to me, is one of the most frustrating things about baseball today. And when can we filter that nonsense out to where I'm going to shorten my swing and I'm just going to cut that? Thank you. I'll take that all day long.
Right.
Oh, no, I'm going to hit a home run. Yeah.
Well, he's getting paid to hit home runs.
Yeah.
I know, right? But it's horrible.
I hated the shift for the longest time. And then when we got into the playoffs this year, you saw that the shift kind of went away.
It did.
And guys started hitting the opposite field.
Right.
Yep.
What I've learned, and this is just my opinion, somebody might have talked about it on TV or not, but my opinion is that regular season doesn't really matter when you have that situational hitting. If you're up 2 or 3 runs, there's no reason to scratch another one. You got a bullpen that's lights out or whatever the case may be. Guys just go up and swing for it. And, is that the reason why Matt Carpenter and those guys had kind of fallen off, is because they're not really trying to do something different. I mean, I'm sure at some point these guys will, because they're frustrated, but doesn't matter in the regular season to some of these teams and these players. And so when we got to the playoffs, I'm like, the shift's not happening as much. Still happening to certain guys, but all of a sudden you start seeing like guys like Jock Peterson going opposite field and poking these little, balls out there. And if they get the spin on it, they're getting second base, and it's like, well, why, as a fan, I'm like, why can't we do this so we can have a bunch of guys hitting 300 instead of a bunch of guys hitting 250?
250.
But again, what are you getting paid for?
Yeah,
they want you to hit the baseball 110 miles an hour.
Right. No, and I think it's the way they were brought up. I mean, they made it to the big leagues doing it one way. And even for our age, 14U, it's, hey, I'm being successful swinging the bat this way. Why are you telling me something different? Maybe if they're just straightening their front arm completely, and you can see that, it's like, all right, when these kids start throwing mid-80s, and if you play at a higher level, even higher, you can't straighten. I mean, that's going to be by you in a second. So just trying to say, hey, you know what, let's shorten it up a little bit more. You're a little long. Even if they're so successful now, they don't get it. But once they hit that high school level, when they see those kids that are throwing really hard, it's going to make a difference.
That's a great point.
I love the kind of things that you talked about, is that situational hitting in general, even at the 14U level, because we just got through a little hitting session with my 14U team. We did some group hitting, and I put in some situational stuff. So I tried to elevate their heart rates, to put them in uncomfortable situations, to think about, bottom of the 7th, you're down a run, you got a guy on second and third, and we got to come with a big 2-out hit. What is your release routine and all those fun things. But I got into talking about, we got a runner at third base, less than 2 outs, hit the ball in the air, get yourself out.
Right.
I had a kid actually ask me, you really are okay if I get out?
Right.
Is it a productive out?
Run?
Yeah.
Well, the thing they don't know, if fly ball, it's a sacrifice.
It's an over.
You're 0 for 0 right now. You're not 0 for 1.
Right.
So I tell them, like, hey, just hit a ground ball or something. No, look for a pitch up and you can drive. You hit a ground ball, yes, you get an RBI, but you're 0 for 1.
Yeah. You know, and it's
Looks better in the box score.
Exactly.
It's such an interesting thing, though, that these kids are so, and I don't know if it comes from previous coaches or, you know, parents, but this infatuation of like hitting 750 or whatever is going through these kids' minds. I'm thinking, I want to barrel. That's all I want to do is hit a baseball hard, because, you know, Murphy's Law or the baseball gods or whatever you want to call them, at some point the baseball will fall, right? It'll find its spot.
Yep.
I would rather go 0 for 10 and hit missiles than go 10 for 10 and hit a bunch of duck farts.
Right.
And I try to get that through my kids, and now they're getting confident because they're 10 out of 10, their mechanics are there.
Right.
You know, and eventually it'll play. And again, though, they don't know the IQ piece of the game. It's like, why would I hit the ball the opposite field with a runner at second base? Less than 2 outs.
It's big with that, and it's also situational. Like, just if it's 2-1, you know, or 0-2, whatever the scenario is. Especially if you're in the advantage as a hitter. I mean, I tell my guys, I'll yell down and I'm like, don't miss it. Don't miss it. Just square it up and it'll go. Especially the size of our kids. I mean, some of our kids, they can miss it and still hit a ball in the gap for a double. And if they get it, it'll go. But just don't miss it. Yeah, don't foul back. Get on it. Yeah, type of thing.
I hope that one day I get to share a field with you, because we're going to be down there at the third base.
You will, probably.
I'm not. We're not that talented. I love my kids. I love my guys. I do have a good team. But I don't think we're there. But I'm going to challenge us. Hopefully we see you, because it's going to be fun sitting across the field and we get done. It's like, man, we share the same ideas, the same passions, and that's what I'm trying to get through to my parents. I've been lucky that my parents let me go.
Right.
I have kids that are kind of new to club sports or new to the travel scene, and their parents don't know what to expect. And I said, sit back and watch. If you have a problem with the way I treat your athlete, you know, talk to me. But as far as the gameplay goes, I've done it long enough. I understand the game. Sometimes it might not make sense until the end of the year, and then a situation will happen, and you'll go, he warned us about it. He talked about it. He did this. And that's what I love. And the same thing is, you know, you get that 2-0. I bet for me, it's like every 1-0, 2-0, I'm saying don't miss it. Because a 1-0 is a good opportunity, especially in youth, right? You should get a fastball to hit. Right. Because they don't want to go to 2-0. So those are the two pitches I'm like, let it fly, man. Even 3-0.
Yeah, and
I let it eat.
Yeah, if you're 2-0 and you fly out the other way, that's where I'll have a problem.
Yep.
I go, don't miss it. But if it's middle away, let it go. Because then, all right, 2-1, you're still in a great count. But don't fly out. Don't go the other way when it's a hitter's count. That gets me frustrated. Another little thing that gets me frustrated.
That box goes from about this big to about that big. And if it's not there,
right?
Man.
Exactly. They're so
Pick
true.
your spot.
Yeah.
Mike, thanks, man. It was fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
It was great. It was
Appreciate you coming on.
I'm glad you guys do this. It's great for youth sports and everything.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We appreciate the support, because that's what it is. That's perspective, community, right? That's bringing it there. Mitch, it's always, buddy.
Always, yeah. I love the opinions. I love the outsiders
different
coming
thoughts.
in. And really what I'm starting to realize doing these shows with you and bringing on now other coaches, there's a lot of similarities in the thought process as a coaching staff in general. And we've had some younger guys, we've had some older guys come in, and it's just, we are here for these athletes. And that's what I think a lot of people miss out on. And opinions are real. I mean, they have some facts behind it because from experience. Or I don't know if people want to call them facts, but we have a lot of experience in coaching, and it seems very similar.
It's the experience, because many, as you played ball growing up, you played college ball, and you as well. And a lot of these, this is what I keep saying. The coaches and the people that we have in the organizations right now are, for the most part, people that played at a high level, and the opportunity to bring that knowledge back. A very small percentage makes it to the major leagues. And that's why I say it's so important that we build the community within these kids and understanding that way, because those kids are going to be coming back to the community and teaching the next level of kids. And you get those one or two that might get to that big spot. But for the most part, they're coming back into the community. Are they productive? Are they helping? What are we doing to provide those opportunities? And I think that's the important part of all of it.
That's my favorite thing
Agreed.
right now. How long have you been? I know that we're trying to cut this thing short, but how long have you been coaching, and have you coached a high school group or graduated a high school?
I've been coaching a long time. So I have a freshman in college right now. Yeah. And then I have a junior in high school as well. So, and then my 13-year-old.
So
I've been coaching a long time.
The freshmen that you have in college, are you starting to see some of those boys come back like each summer trying to work?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
I have 20, my daughter's 25. And so now she is giving back to the softball community and coaching. She coaches for the Chaos organization. And it's really neat to see like some of the girls that went to become teachers are now coaching at their high schools or, things like that. It's just, and being at Timberland and graduating some kids, they're coming back to coach with me. And I just coached them a year ago, and so it's really fun to see this full circle thing because you put so much time into these young men and women.
Oh, it is. It's awesome. I mean, it's unbelievable. Even the kids that are like, I have a junior in high school. Some of those kids that I've coached younger, they've just taken off in other sports, even not just baseball, even basketball we've talked about as well. So even seeing that or having those college kids come home and how they hold themselves and, represent, just you and your family, it's great. Yeah.
It's much bigger than the sport, ain't it?
Much bigger.
People don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's the point. And that's what I think is so important and why I think this conversations and bringing this perspective to this, because it is. And what you guys just put together there, and it's fun getting to talk to these kids, isn't it?
Oh,
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. You're like, and you feel a little part of that. And, and they come back sometimes and they have a lot of respect for those things and they understand, they appreciate it. Right?
Oh, I can tell you how many kids hated me playing for me. And they're like, you told me. And I was like, I know, it just took 10 years for you to understand what I was telling you then. And you hated me for making you do these things. And it's like, all you had to do was just do it the first time.
That's
you
right.
never had the problem.
Yeah,
Just do what you're told and we would have been just fine. It doesn't always work that way. I was a rebel child too. But it's just awesome to see that down the road, the circle of the sport.
It makes a difference.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It does.
Yep.
Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit that subscribe button right there. Big subscribe, please. If it's the first time you're watching, please subscribe. We appreciate it. Hit that dinger because that's what we do, right?
Doubles and dingers.
Doubles and dingers. That's what it is. And it gets you all the notifications for upcoming episodes because you get to see Mitch more.
Got a good smile.
It was
My lips are
beautiful.
a little dry from being out in the wind so much, so hopefully I can.
And we appreciate it very much. Again, comment below anything there. We appreciate that. We look forward to seeing you again. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord, and we will see you next time.